welcome to another episode of the Insurance Leadership Podcast. I'm Ryan Eaton, your co-host, and honored to be here with you today. Before we get kicked off with today's episode, we wanted to go back through a highlight of what 2024 and the previous years looked like. We looked at this, and we've been doing this now for 4 years. We've had over 40 episodes. We've had people who've been New York Times bestsellers on the podcast. We have had CEOs, presidents, startup companies, military leaders, even Secret Service agents who've been on this podcast. And it's been awesome to kind of see the topics, whether it was insurance or leadership. We had a lot of things on distribution, how to start agencies from scratch, even to the point of, what it looks like when you're trying to sell to private equity. And it's been really neat, really exciting, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to do this now for, again, 4 years, over 40 episodes. But we have some even more exciting things coming up in 2025. So we're looking forward to telling you about that today. But before we do that, I want to thank two people who have been very, very critical to this podcast over the past 4 years. First one, you can't see her right now, but it's Janice Blanton. Janice has been such a big help to this podcast, whether it's booking the speakers, lining up everything, getting the time set up, social media, scripts for the podcast, whatever the case may be. She has been just a huge help. The next one is sitting to my right, Casey Combest, and Casey usually runs all of the video production with this, does the editing. Today might be a little bit different because he's right here, so hopefully this works out well. But Casey's been another one who's just been so influential on the podcast, and he's run over 30 different podcasts for different people, and used to host his own prior to selling it. But he has done a phenomenal job, and we're thankful to have him here. But some of the things that are going to be changing for 2025, which we are super excited about, we got a whole new lineup of speakers. We are always looking for more speakers to be on the podcast. So if you have anyone good, please let us know. We're going to have more interactions, Q&A. We'll have multi-co-hosts this year. But one of the things, the biggest thing that we're changing for 2025 and beyond is that we will have two new co-hosts for the Insurance Leadership Podcast. I've already introduced Casey here, and then the other one I want to introduce is Ben Markland. So Ben is VP of Sales at Morgan White Group. He has been with our company now 10 years, does a phenomenal job. He works in the administration side, the distribution side, the technology side. He kind of touches all the different pieces there and will bring a ton of value to the podcast, especially on the insurance side. So we are super excited about 2025 and what it has to offer. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the podcast for today. We're talking about leadership trends, and I'm going to let Casey go ahead and be the moderator for today. So Casey, kick it off for us, brother.
Absolutely, and I speak for Ben and myself just to say thanks so much for carrying this show for 4 years, and we're excited to be a part. Honored, truly honored.
Brother. Appreciate it.
Well, let's dive in. Ben, we'll start with some questions for you, starting with trends and technology. As we're looking at a brand new year, I'm sure a bunch of folks are thinking about what technology can make their lives easier as they move forward. Talk to us about this next year. What should we keep our eye on?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of changes on the tech side. COVID did a lot to really accelerate that for a lot of the customers, the carriers. There wasn't as much of a demand as I think pushed the carriers to make decisions until the country was shut down, right? So we've seen a big increase in digital benefits. So we're working with some carriers, telemedicine being one of them. That we've seen, wasn't widely accepted until it was kind of really forced upon people, and now obviously been growing leaps and bounds. So we've seen, a big increase in the acceptance of the kind of digital benefits. We're working with another carrier that does digital vision benefits. So no networks, no seeing a doctor, anything like that. Everything's done completely online. And I think maybe 10 years ago, that probably would have been unheard of. People think, in order to see a doctor, in order to get something done, you have to see someone face to face. And we're just seeing that kind of stigma go away a little bit. So that's something that we're seeing a lot with carriers. Another one that I've seen personally, and just some of the partnerships that I've worked with, is the growth of ICHRA. So we're seeing a lot of brokers around the country starting to embrace the individual coverage HRA. And the reason I bring that up when we mention technology is because the challenge with an ICHRA implementation would be you're taking a 30-person group and turning it into 30 individuals. Mm-hmm. So the administrative side of that becomes, quite unwieldy for your average broker that's not used to doing that stuff. So we're seeing a lot of technology companies and actually a lot of VC money pouring into these companies that are doing this stuff to kind of manage employer contributions, to manage the payment side of it. So those are kind of some of the trends we've seen on that. I'm excited to see where it goes. We have partnerships with a lot of people that are doing this stuff. So these are things really we weren't thinking about in-house here, but we're partners with so many people. They're kind of driving some of these trends, and it's kind of forcing our hands to learn a little bit more ourselves. So.
And I know for myself, I don't know if you guys felt this, but it seemed like every time I opened up my browser or news, there was something new with AI last year.
Absolutely.
So as we're looking at how AI continues to impact our daily lives, as far as the operational strategy for insurance agencies, what are they looking at this next year? What should they keep their eye on?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great question. Obviously claims processing for insurance companies is a big thing. There's a lot of information. Obviously, that's where money's changing hands. That's where if you're winning or losing on a customer. But I think there's a big role for AI in claims processing. On the other side, you obviously have the customer experience. So if you deal with any large insurance companies or really any business online now, if you get online, what's the first thing that pops up in the corner? Hey, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. That's not a person. I mean, everyone knows that. That's AI. And I mean, maybe it starts you there, but that first interaction is where AI can really start routing people to the right place. We, on our own insurance company here, have kind of experimented a little bit with AI on our phone system. We have hundreds of thousands of members, and we found that a large percentage of phone calls was really just around, I need to change my credit card. Yep. And in order to involve a person in that and someone updating a system and doing all that, these are things that could very easily be done with AI. So that's something we're kind of investigating a little bit as well. And I think there's a role for a lot of that just because of the large numbers, just the amount of information out there and the repetitive stuff. I think obviously AI is kind of teed up to handle that type of information.
And any other emerging risk or opportunities as it relates to prioritizing to just stay competitive in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, risks obviously would be cyber attacks. Once again, things you wouldn't really see or think about. I don't think many insurance companies were thinking about this, 20 years ago, just because the criminals doing that stuff didn't really exist yet. And if they did, they had different methods. And now it's just the vast amount of personal, potentially dangerous information that insurance companies store on people. You have their social security number, you have their health history, you probably have their payment information. Obviously, we have to deal with compliance and all that, but if a bad guy gets there, they don't care. So, insurance companies, I think, are a big target for cyber attacks just because of the type and amount of data that we store. So, I think it's just important, and I think a lot of these bigger ones are coming up with just entire departments just to combat that. So once again, a place you got to spend money that maybe you didn't have to before. So as far as opportunities, I think just the number of connected devices around. I mean, just like the bad guys are after information to do nefarious things, there's a lot of good information out there that I think insurance companies could use to better their offerings and maybe even affect the bottom line for pricing. I was just thinking myself, how many connected devices do you have in your house? And I mean, I've got plugs, I've got light bulbs, I've got my kids' toys that are connected to apps. Somebody is doing something with all this information, and if they're not, somebody wants to. So, I don't know that I can connect one of my kids' toys to figuring out something to do with their healthcare in the future, but someone's looking at it. All this data is being collected. Data is the largest product in the world right now. And the fact that we are connected in everything we do, from when we wake up and there's toothbrushes that are connected. Sure you guys have heard there's companies out there that are tracking what people brush their teeth, and you might get a discount on your premium for something like that. So, these are the type things that I think there is opportunity there for insurance companies, just like someone would do with a car insurance today. They offer an app. If you're not a crazy driver, maybe we'll lower your premium. If you are a crazy driver, we've got to tell you, but we may raise your premium. So,
or cancel you.
Or cancel you. So the advantage is that insurance can, because people are so connected today, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the customer to share information with the company they're doing business with. And, decisions can be made based on that information. And I think that can be for the greater good of everybody. So I think that's a big opportunity out there.
Yeah, lots to keep our eye on as we're looking into 2025. And so that's another reason why insurance leadership is so important. We can talk about great topics like this and help you to stay informed to make the best decisions you can. Ron, for you, as you're looking at leadership for 2025, what's in focus for you?
For me personally, I'm looking at two things for kind of 2025, at least the start of the year, trying to get some things to hold on. One is time management. We've all heard, seen, read books on different things from a time management perspective, but I'm really trying to focus on things I can do specifically, maybe that I've heard for a long time, but that I just haven't pulled the trigger on to try to be able to help. And then I'm also looking from a project management standpoint, like what we need to do to execute more effectively as a company. And, there's only so many hours in a day, right? And, and some of it's allotted to ourselves, some of it's to our family, some's to, outside of office functions, but some are here at the office. So it's maximizing those hours to the best that we can. And had a mentor tell me a long time ago, he said, your life is kind of like a car and you have four wheels. And he said, one may be your family, another one may be spirituality, another one may be health, another one may be work. He said, if any one of those four tires gets low, gets flat, he said, the car will not ride correctly. And he said, so make sure you have everything balanced. And so that's kind of one of the things I'm working on this year is trying to make sure I got myself balanced, but then also as a team, as a company, that we're doing the same thing there so we don't get off kilter.
Yeah, that's a great transition into our next question for leaders who might be watching and they're saying, I'm busy. I'm really, really busy, Ron. Like, how do I do these things? What are some low-hanging fruit that they could take advantage of right now?
That's a great question. So I'll just say what I've started doing over the past little bit. So these are, people, you may already have done this. This may be something a lot of you guys have already implemented as well, but I had not. First one I look is emails. I checked it out, and Janice, who I mentioned earlier on the call, we were looking at my emails and trying to figure out what we could do, and I was getting over 250 emails a day. And trying to check 250 emails a day and take the phone calls and do the kids stuff and everything else, it was just getting to that point like it was mental haze, right? You just want to be like, let it all go. Well, I spent 2 weeks going through and unsubscribing. And so instead of just unsubscribing, I would unsubscribe them and then I'd put them on a junk list or a Barracuda list as well. Because what I found is that some of them which you unsubscribe actually don't even unsubscribe you. They're kind of checking their box so that it looks like they're doing it, but they're really not. So that was one of the first things is, hey, all right, let me unsubscribe, let me get the junk stuff off. Then the second step of that email management was looking at it from a standpoint of, hey, how can I get all the emails that I need to get, but I don't need them actually during the day to go to a specific folder? And so there's a lot of different rules. You can set up an Outlook that I could get my bank, I could get the kids' school, I could get investment accounts, I could get, Mississippi State emails, all these different things that, you kind of want to see. Amazon deliveries, right? This time of the year, some of you, if you're getting 10 to 15 packages a day with all the different stuff, you might be getting 30 to 45 emails because it's on the way. Hey, now it's delivered. Hey, rate it to see. Those type things just clutter you. And if you've ever been on a Teams meeting with somebody and you see them, you're looking straight at them, and all of a sudden you see them look down to the bottom right, they're seeing those pop-ups. Well, this is a way to be able to just get those distractions out of the way. So that's one of the things. Also, the do not disturb feature. If you have an iPhone, I block my time off from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. where no one's calls or texts get through, unless I want to go look at it. And so I block that time out for my family, for me. I like having a few personal hours to start the day, so I'm actually getting on my stuff and instead of what other people are trying to send me to do to make sure I'm effective from that standpoint. And then I think the last thing, real basic, but organize your priorities. It's amazing how many things we do from a time management perspective that it doesn't even align with the things we really want to accomplish. We're just doing it. Maybe it feels right. Maybe someone else wants us to do it. Maybe they want to take me to lunch to try to pitch their idea. Like instead, I'm not trying to figure out how to pitch my idea, right? And so take time to organize your priorities and figure out what you're actually doing that helps kind of reach towards your goals and what you're doing that's just wasted time, really.
Feels like January is a great month to do that.
Oh,
so just get that focus back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, love that.
Those are the low-hanging fruit, though, that I would say, yeah.
That's great, Ron. And as we sort of close out our questions section, Ron, as we're looking at the new administration taking office, what changes do you see for the insurance industry coming up?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we don't know what everything's going to look like, obviously, yet. But there's a list that Trump's administration has put out, and Kamala had the same type thing where they put out the different things. And I really agree with a lot of things on Trump's list. And I think with the Republicans having the House, the Senate, and the presidential seat, I see this being a stronger push probably in the next few years. First thing is direct primary care. This is still new to the area we're in the Southeast. It's very, very new overall, but a lot of big cities have had this for a while. It's a great thing. You have a doctor you maybe pay a monthly membership fee to. You're a part of it, and then you can text them, you can call them, you can get prescriptions done in. If I'm at the deer camp and I get in poison ivy, or I can text, I can call, and they can call me in poison ivy. Almost like a built-in telemedicine with a doctor, but it's also you can get all your tests and exams, and they're all done for free, as long as you pay that monthly fee. And so you kind of can get a lot of the preventative type stuff, and because it's no cost besides the monthly fee, you get more stuff. So I think that's going to be a big one, the direct primary care model. PBMs, I do see them going after the PBMs. Prescriptions are one of the things that was left out of ACA. Lobbying efforts of the different prescription benefit management companies got prescriptions taken out of it. And we look even at our own self-funded plan, we only have probably 350 to 400 employees in our company's plan, but it's 49% of our medical spend is prescriptions. That's got to be regulated as a whole. It's getting crazy. They're also talking about for medical practices, hospitals, urgent cares, reducing the licensing complications to make it easier to be able to build some of these facilities, different places where it's easier to be able to get certain things. You don't think about it unless you're dealing with it, but like these end-stage renal dialysis clinics, they're so hard to get built. They're so there's so much cost, $2 million to put in a building. It can only see a certain number of people in a day because they're having to cycle their blood. Well, they may have to go through a year worth of licensing and compliance to get in. Sometimes they just ask themselves, is this worth it? But then you have CMS for those companies breathing down their necks and saying, you need to open more, you need to be able to get this. Well, it's like we're stuck in limbo with governmental type stuff. So I see them reducing a lot of those regulations on companies. And then the last thing that I'll hit on today is the increased transparency of pricing. So if you go to the movie theaters, there's a price. You go eat lunch anywhere, there's a price. If we go, name it, if you go look at a car, you go to a retail shop, you go to anything, there's pricing laid out for the consumers. You know what you're buying, you know what you're paying, you know what you're getting. Healthcare is the only business I know of in the world that's not like that. And you can walk in, get the services, walk out, and still have no idea what you're about to pay for it. And we wonder why it's broken. I mean, it is. It's got a lot of flaws to it. And so I think price transparency is going to be really big. I think some of that type of stuff will really be a good thing for our country as a whole. We have the fastest growing pricing for medical care of any other country. And you look at that, that's got to be something to it. If I could walk in and pick up a Lamborghini and not even know the price tag till I got home and then got the sticker shock, what happened, blah, 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 there would be a problem, right? And it's the same thing here. And so I think hopefully they'll do a lot on that side. It is not going to be easy. Let me be clear on that. That is a tough thing when you got network fees and what this one costs versus this one. It's the same doctor, but they're charging different fees. That's tough for a member to be able to understand. And especially someone who's not in it every day, it's going to feel like a racket. And so I think some of those type of things, how you navigate, it's going to be very interesting over the next few years.
Probably a lot of arguments at the hospital.
Oh, there will be. I mean, look, it doesn't look good for the hospitals, doesn't look good for the insurance companies. The consumer's already frustrated. I mean, it's a lot of different stuff like that, but I think simplicity is key in anything, right? We all know that. And so I think there's probably a way to be able to do it simpler. I don't think it's a quick fix, but it's also tough from the hospital standpoint when Medicare is reimbursing at this price, but they make all the insurance companies pay at this price. And, it's just, a lot of stuff like that gets kind of convoluted and kind of messy, but that's what I see kind of the administration, some of the coming updates looking like.
Yeah. Good thing you guys don't have to deal with the day-to-day of that.
Amen. Amen.
Guys, thank you all so much for your time today and your expertise, and thank you guys so much for listening. We're so excited about 2025, and we know there's a lot of great stuff ahead. Please make sure to send us topics. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear about topics you are interested in or people you would like to see on the podcast or hear from, and also participate with us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah, Casey and I are really excited to host this podcast that Ryan's so gracefully done for the last 4 years, and we're excited about our lineup, our topics, and as Casey mentioned, we can't do this without you guys, so we're certainly open to hearing what you're interested in as well. I really think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of risks out there for what we do, for what you guys do. We're excited to talk about it. We're excited to bounce ideas off of our guests and hear what the different takes that we can get. But once again, we're looking forward to doing all with you guys. So that being said, we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.